It's Roger, Mudfossil University, today with a little comment on a video that Brien Foester did that was fabulous video about Petra, and I think I have some information, and it's not what a geologist would say. Now, Brien, I respect him immensely. He's asking all the right questions, going to all the right places. He's doing magnificent things. He's having tests done on his long-headed skulls there and coming up with answers. I am looking for answers too. And what I'm going to show you is that geologists do not have the answers. And that is what everybody points to. Oh, talk to a geologist. No, you're just wasting your time. And here's why. This right here is one of those stone balls. You see that little thing right there? And you see what it's on this strap? And you see what that strap is connected to, this tissue? That's tendon. This is tendon. That is a flexible, fibrous strap. That ball right there is the balls that everybody's, oh, these giant stone balls, giant stone balls. Well, in us, they're microscopic. And yes, they are giant on the earth, absolutely. And this one here is pulled out from this socket. Normally, that would be an anchor in this tissue. The plate of the tendon is able to slide back and forth and still stay anchored. All right, following the lay of the land, and this literally becomes the land. Now, I'm going to show you what happens to these tendon balls and these straps and this map. This is what ends up happening to these tendon balls. You see there's one over here, there's one over here, there's one over here. They're all over the place. This one lost its strap. This one still has its strap. These are much less viable than the ball. The balls are extremely strong, and this was in a layer of tissue that had eroded. That's the depth of the ball. The other one was pulled out that I showed you. This is that mat. This is that tendon mat. Those are the attachments to the straps. If you look, you can see organic tissue in between this round. Well, it was round at one time, it's sort of flattened out now, but that strap would have reached over to a ball, okay? And they cut them and they moved them, and I'll show you how they cut other ones. All right, this is how they cut the other ones. They used equipment, a high-tech equipment. This was wet tissue when this happened. These are the result of the gigantic flood that has flooded the earth. Somewhere there was high-tech vehicles came back down to earth and mined the flesh of these dead creatures while they were still in a not completely dry form. They cut slabs off here, and then they did this with them. All right, they took these are tendons. They cut these slabs off, and they made these walls. That's why they fit together so well, and are so obviously fabulously crafted and interwoven and all that. They're coming out of wet, putty-like flesh. And this is the tendinous material. It's CaCO3 in your body. It's CaCO3 when they cut it up and made walls out of it. It's that fibrous material right there. That's an Achilles tendon. You got to understand anatomy and physiology and chemistry and how things decompose and the interaction of molecular bonding and carboxylation and movement of molecules inside of salt waters. This is what happened. The bones were destroyed, everything else will remain, because salt water, we live in salt water. That's exactly the pH that we live in. Our bones will not tolerate that when they have a flow of salt water through them, though. And the result is waterlogged creatures. The anchor attachments are so strong, these do not go away. The fibers go away. And I'll show you that. And this is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them in everybody. And in these giants, there was the same amount. Now, this is why you don't see this fibers attached. It's a very weak spot here as it solidifies. Once it hardens up, it snaps right off. And then you have the ball left over. Extremely hard. Now, I want you to see something. Don't forget these two spots right here. That's where the blood goes in and out. You have the dark and the lighter colored blood. Originally, this was completely surrounded by kaolin clay. That is a skin anchor. This was all skin at one time. I'm just telling you what it was. And remember what you see here, because I'm going to show you that in Brien Foester's video. Here's another one. This is the kaolin clays, this white clays. That originally was inside of a skin. That was all skin one time. And this right here is a smoking gun. These are all still left in the skin of the kaolin clays. This was where the strap went in. That was where another strap went in somewhere. That's where another one went in. There's a zillion balls. You see them all up in here? They're all embedded in this is kaolin clay, which is skin. And that eroded out of there. They dig the caves into these holes, and I'm going to show you what Brien Foester has. He has a cave where they're looking up inside. You can see that ball with those two attachments going up into it. By the way, they're everywhere. It's not just here and there. And you see that's skin back there. That is tissues. Those are tissues. Now, Brien is going to be showing more than your average tourist would show. And that's what I like about him. He goes in deep for the things. Now, I'm just trying to show my research on what I believe these things are. So here we go.
The treasury is only a small percentage of what Petra is, which we'll see that way. So this is the wall right behind Petra, and notice the horizontal shaping. That has been carved out.
All right, anybody that's in the mud fossils, look at look. You can see the type of tissues, and these are what they call the fascia. This is the white fascia tissues. Just watch it as he goes down, and then we're going to see that cave, and that cave was hollowed out from one of those attachments that rotted away and left the ball hanging in the wall.
Now we continue. Most tourists just go to the treasury, turn around, walk back through the Sikh, and then leave. But we walked for another, I think, 10 miles. And what we encountered
mud fossil stuff.
Were these huge cutout chambers.
There it is. Boom. You see that? That ball is up inside there. And that was where that stand, which we saw, would have stood up and held that up there. And if all of this eroded away, you would have ended up with that ball like we see standing up, and they're standing up all around the world. Now, this was where the stalk came out. We saw that in the other one. That is a leftover tendon ball. This is a gigantic, gigantic creature. And Petra itself, inside the main treasury, is all mud fossil tissue. Very, very, very obvious. We'll look at that in a minute. Don't forget, if nothing here eroded and they saw this hole going up in there, they dig in here, and then you would be left with that ball at the top. And there is two entryways, and I'll show you that. All right, all the clay is gone. That's what's left. There's those two entryways. They dug up to this level right here. You saw how these stone balls cluster. These are the little tabs that came down and locked in on them. Everything's eroded away. That's a house. And they're everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. See, this is what they are like in the flesh. And they're stuck in there, and then there's little straps running all through it now. They call it interstitium. They just really finally discovered it. This is different type of tendon and connective tissue and so forth. What I want you to look at is there's a bazillion tiny fibers in all of these, but they go into bundles, and the fascia bundles move back and forth on these slippery surfaces called synovial sheaths, and they're coated with a fascia type material and a kaolin wet red bloody clay. And they have, you see this, how this is all wrinkled up? That's how a tendon wrinkles up and comes apart. This is a stretched out tendon. Then they have like layers, and these are the black little spots in them. I believe that's where blood invests. These little dots here are the interstitium, and they run with these little tiny fibers that run through your skin and hold. This is a different type. I believe this is like, what do you call that stuff? It's a fatty substance, and these are there's fats in here, and the rest is connective tissue. So the one that women hate. I forget what the hell. Anyway, anyway, whatever it is. All right, this is that same tissue as you saw on the last shot. There's some more. It's all over the place. All right, here's some kids sliding down a tendon. That is that slurpy little layer that I talk about. See, it's over here, it's everywhere. That is the red kaolin clays that allowed this to slide easily in the body. All right, this is Egypt and Peru. They cut these out with their fingernails almost. Shovels like that, that's all. There's no other way to do that. They must have melted, no, they were wet when they did this, obviously. I showed the device that drove through them and cut the slabs. And there's other ones too. There's that other one. The other one was in Peru. I think this might be Bulgaria or somewhere, but it's the same device. Now, these little white things in here and this red-looking flesh, this is right in here is the beginning of an abrupt transition. It goes from the tendinous material, which was all those wavy things, and then it starts to get into the red clay, which is flesh. But it continues on with mineralization for quite a while, and then the white connective tissue takes over in earnest. And there's another one. That's a four-wheel drive vehicle. Zzzp. And this is how those tires go. They have those little grabbers in them as they roll. That's the center of the tire, and there's the other side. That is the synovial red sheath that is the sliding, what's left of it is there. Now, that is another one of those Achilles tendons. All the tendons pretty much have a similar look to them. All right, here's the, I believe they call this the treasury. Now, my take on this, I know this is mud fossil tissue. I can see it. You see it? You see these blocks? Nobody put these up into blocks. That is absolutely mud fossil tissue. Now, no question about it. Now, and you can see how this is not something that did weathered patterns and so forth. That is muscle tissue weaving in and amongst itself. I have lots of it here. Now, this is obviously either was a huge vein, artery, which was still plugged with red blood, and they did this. However, when you look inside, we're going to see what the true nature is. My point being is that I think this might have been plastered over here densely with blood, dried up solid, then carved as like plaster. All right, this goes back to one of Brian's earlier videos. Watch this.
Come here as early as 800 BC, about the same time that it was introduced to ancient Egypt. But the chambers would take, I would think, power tools, because there's just so much volume of material to remove.
Now watch this.
Looks like we changed direction with the handheld tool.
All right, they're thinking they had power tools. Wait till you see what I'm going to say happened here.
Down and then going sideways. But yes, I didn't see the first time.
All right, it was wet. You could see that was wet. They just scraped with a rake or something. That's what I'm saying. That wasn't. They're saying, oh, it must have melted. No, it was wet when they did it. Now just look at this. This is mud fossil tissue. This is mud fossil tissue. That's bodily tissue. When you look up at the ceilings, it's going to be all mud fossil tissue up in the ceilings. And this is at Petra. Now this is all that's from a mud fossil vein or something, or a tissue layer, whatever it is. They change. It changes all kinds of ways in your body. All right. All right, that's inside one of the rooms at Petra. This is flesh. All right, this is from another one of Brien Foester's excursions over there to Petra from about a year ago. Now, you see this is blood. That's really wet flesh. Why are these holes here? Why are these holes up here? Why are they right in this fleshy stuff? It's to let the moisture out. It's exactly what I would do. You put holes in here, you put holes in here, that moisture will vape right out of there, and then you can use this. But that would have been nasty, that probably would have been oozing and everything else. Because let me show you what they will do. All right, there you go again. This is blood pouring out of an arterial blood vessel. This is the flesh. It turns into clay. That is blood running right out of that blood vessel right there. All right, and that's why they would, in certain places it's going to be let's say they cut through it this way, it's going to be leaking. They're going to have to put holes in it, drain it out, whatever they have to do. But this one here just is pouring out all over the place. That's blood. I mean, that is flesh. I'm sorry, that's what it is. It's flesh. Nobody came in and, I don't know what they think happened here, but that is flesh. Okay, I just want to tell you too, if you ask a geologist what that is, you say granite. Well, it's granular, crushed up stone that is ground up, and they extracted all the metals except for that one little bitty piece they missed. This is chunks of creatures, and at first I thought, boy, they must have done a lot of work grinding, crushing this stone. They ground this up through a meat grinder when that stuff was wet. I keep looking at it and I see these little grinder hooks like places in there. They must have done something like this, cutting through. This black is the black of vein blood. It hardens up solid like that. It's FeO2 blood. This is the tendinous material, which is limestone, calcium, CaCO3. This is the red blood, and it turns into ferrous oxides and so forth. There is no metals in this entire counter except that one piece that I can find. It's my counter. If you want to come and look at it, it's 32 feet of counter, and that is all the metals that are in there. This is crushed up. Well, it's ground up, really, because at first I thought they must have crushed it, and I thought, boy, they did a good job of crushing. They ran it through a meat processor. All right, Mudfossil University on YouTube. All right, if you just put in mudfossils with an S.com, you come up to Mudfossil University. I have some people that are doing this gratis. They're just doing it when they can, so it's taking some time. It's going to be where we're going to host everything, so that there'll be easy access. It's a mess now, no question whatsoever. But we have DNA tests, there's 3 of them, and they were done in all the ancient protocols, and they were giants. 2 of them were giants. One was a regular size human. All human mitochondrial DNA. See, Homo sapien mitochondrial, Homo sapien mitochondrial D-loop, that's the cytochrome B gene. It's very, very intricately well done, certified, the whole 9 yards. 2 different labs were involved, and so that's what it is. All right, Mudfossil University, come check it out. Look at this. Look, that's all carved out of some, I would say it was soft flesh when they did it. I mean, you can see where those other tool marks were obviously into something soft, and we saw how those, I mean, they might have had tools. I'm not saying they didn't have tools, but I'm saying they worked it when it was wet, because we know that, we can see that. And I say these things are the product of the Great Flood. And that's how they worked them. And there might have been more than one Great Flood. But I know there was at least one I'm 100% sure of, and that came out of the Atlas Mountains. Now, there's another one spoken of that came out of the skies. So I'm just saying it's time to look at these things with mud fossil eyes, because people are looking at this asking geologists. They're not going to get the answer from geologists. Geologists are going to tell you what he read in a book, and they have no clue about this, none whatsoever. The earth is made of creatures, not of dead dust that congealed together and made into igneous that and metamorphic this and so forth. No. You got to look into mud fossils and how these creatures petrified. I'm just showing you what is on the face of the planet. I didn't make it up. It's here. Somebody's got to deal with it in a rational manner, not just to ignore it. That's my point. And again, I really appreciate, and I have no disrespect whatsoever for anybody that's in this field. They are looking at things, trying to come up with answers. I have answers too. Why are my answers not even looked at? I have DNA, CAT scans, anatomists, specimens coming out of my ears. Evidence that is undeniable, but it's so contrary to what everybody's believed. They can't accept it, and they run away from it. So time to turn your head around and look. Say, well, all right, let's see what you got. All right, Mudfossil University on YouTube.